Hello everyone, welcome to the fall premiere episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. The longest summer in recent memory may be over, but COVID-19 has not disappeared. Fall events are going to be affected just as much as summer events were, although there is still much to do and see in Berkshire County. First, it's time for this week's trivia question, which will be answered at the end of the show. This week's question is, how long is the Appalachian Trail, part of which runs through Berkshire County? Now, for this week's local entertainment headlines. The famed Guthrie Center, which is located at 2 Van Duzenville Road in Great Barrington, will be celebrating its 30th anniversary next year. But in the meantime, its survival is depending on the success of a fund drive launched online. First, a brief history of the center. In 1991, singer Arlo Guthrie paid approximately $200,000 to purchase the old Trinity Church, which is featured in his famous Alice's Restaurant song. The center's main mission is, according to its website, quote, to cultivate cultural preservation, promote educational achievement, and foster community outreach to meet the ongoing needs of the community, end quote. Additionally, it also serves to honor Arlo Guthrie's parents, Woody Guthrie and Marjorie Mazia Guthrie. Like many arts and entertainment venues in 2020, it is in a dire financial crisis due to COVID-19. For the past 2 years, the Guthrie Center was closed to the public due to extensive construction. It was scheduled to open this summer, but that could not happen due to social distancing regulations. It is still closed to the public, and Guthrie Center officials are not sure on when the facilities will reopen. Now, the center is hosting a fundraiser on its website at donate.guthrieCenter.org. There is an 8-minute video on the website, an archival retrospective on Arlo and the Guthrie Center. This video is free to the public, but for people who choose to donate, there will be an extra treat, a 30-minute virtual concert. The goal of the fundraiser is to raise $7,000. Visit GuthrieCenter.org for more information. MCLA's Gallery 51 Art Museum has reopened up after being closed all summer due to COVID-19. The first exhibit is A Long Way From Home by Genevieve Guinard. This draws upon many artistic forms, including paintings, sculptures, and collages. It explores difficulties in class, race, and gender, especially in 2020, when everything seemed to come to a head. This is Guinard's first exhibit at Gallery 51, and she is a native of rural Massachusetts. It is the practice of an artist who understands her form and knows how to use it. A Long Way From Home is open to the public from noon to 2 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Additionally, patrons can make an appointment to see the exhibit Tuesdays and Saturdays from noon to 4 p.m. The piece will be on display until December 7th and is curated by Erica Wall. Social distancing protocols will be followed, and guests are required to wear masks and gloves. Additionally, no more than 4 to 6 individuals will be permitted in the gallery at the same time. This and all Gallery 51 events are free to the public. The Berkshire Museum has expanded their hours of operation. Its phased reopening was a major success, and with COVID numbers low in Berkshire County, officials felt it was safe to increase hours. Here are the new times. The museum will be open on Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sundays from noon to 5 p.m. It will be closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Additionally, the museum will close every day from 2 to 2:30 p.m. so the museum can do a deep cleaning. Guests can still view all of the exhibits and displays, some of which are shown here. However, as with most arts and entertainment facilities, guests are required to stay 6 feet apart and wear masks. Advance reservations are required to visit the museum. Guests are encouraged to reserve their timed experiences online by visiting berkshiremuseum.org/visit or by calling 413-443-7171 extension 360. Admission to the museum costs $5 for adults and is free for children under the age of 18 and members of the Berkshire Museum. Plans to install an outdoor recreation center on the slope of Mount Greylock called Greylock Glen has hit a major snag. Designs are complete for the center, which would cost $6.5 million to build, but the COVID-19 crisis has caused building to come to a complete stop. Funding for the recreational center was approved by the Massachusetts legislature and Governor Charlie Baker in 2018, but the money still hasn't been released. High-end resorts were originally pitched at the location, but after looking into the area, the Glen now seeks to draw people who want to enjoy the outdoors. State Representative John Barrett III from North Adams said he spoke with Governor Baker in late winter about the Glen, but then the pandemic hit just a few days after their discussion. Baker and the state of Massachusetts have been reluctant to release money in this very difficult time. Bartlett remains confident that the money will be eventually freed up. He also stated how much outdoor activities have become more appreciated during the pandemic, saying in part, quote, "The light is now shining more and more about this. This is about bringing visitors here, and the age-old goal of keeping them here for a week. The catalyst will be the construction of that welcoming center," end quote. The town of Adams is continuing to seek smaller state grants to prepare infrastructure at the site. It has put in for a Mass Works grant to extend water supply. With Massachusetts water very limited, however, this is to be determined. Stay tuned to WWHEN for updates. Every Friday evening in September, Dewey Hall, located at 91 Main Street in Sheffield, holds concerts. This year, of course, is going to be different due to the COVID pandemic. Concerts are going to be held via social distancing. They will be performed outdoors and masks are required the whole time. Additionally, groups as large as 4 are encouraged to purchase tickets ahead of time, and each party will be given a 5-foot diameter circle to sit in. No bathrooms will be available, and the indoor space will not be open to the public. Here is a list of the artists who will be performing or have already performed at the Dewey Hall. On September 11th, it was Moonshine Holler. September 18th, the Moonshells. And on September 25th, South Street Swing will be performing. Tickets for all concerts cost $10 in advance and will not be sold at the door due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Stay tuned to WWHEN to see the latest updates on more concerts during the fall season. Over the past 2 weeks, there's been 2 major theatrical releases at the Regal Cinemas. As movie theaters are slowly opening up again, movies are finally taking advantage, even though the box office is naturally lower due to the world we live in. The first movie was Tenet. Details of this action spy movie have been very tight-lipped. But considering this comes from the same director as Memento and Inception, one can expect a movie that requires multiple viewings. Tenet stars Kenneth Branagh, Michael Caine, John David Washington, and Elizabeth Debicki, and is directed by Christopher Nolan. The other major debut was The New Mutants, which finally hit theaters after multiple delays. You might want to sit down for the history of this one. The movie began development in 2014. Filming went smoothly, and it was scheduled for an April 2018 release. Rumors of reshoots and the merger of Disney and Fox Studios pushed the date to February 2019. The rumored reshoots proved to be costly, so the date was changed again to August 2019. When the X-Men film Dark Phoenix struggled at the box office, executives realized it may not be a good time to release another superhero movie right away. So the new date was set as April 3rd, 2020. Then in 2020, 2 things happened. First, those rumored reshoots never actually happened. The New Mutants was only delayed because of the Disney-Fox merger. Second, COVID-19 happened and pushed the movie off the release date again until August 2020. It's been a long, hard road just to get this movie into the theaters. In any case, The New Mutants stars Anna Taylor-Joy, Maisie Williams, Charlie Heaton, and Alice Braga, and is directed by Josh Boone. There are many different rules and regulations for Regal Cinemas under COVID-19. Visit regmovies.com to view their whole list. It's now time for this week's history portion of WWHEN. Our first stop this week is the Frelinghuysen and Morris Art House and Studio, located at 92 Hawthorne Street in Lenox. It is not open to the public for the 2020 season due to COVID restrictions. However, it is offering virtual tours at its website. It hopes to reopen its regular tours to the public next year. Visit Frelinghuysen.com for more information on virtual tours and when the house/studio will reopen. The Frelinghuysen Morris House is named after George L.K. Morris and Susie Frelinghuysen, 2 very popular abstract artists and one of the world's most famous art couples. Morris is best known for his cubist sculptures and paintings, while Frelinghuysen is known for her living art pieces, while also embarking on a singing career. In 1929, Morris traveled to Paris to study under artists Bernard Leger and Amédée Ozenfant, and became enamored with the studio they worked at. Upon his return to America, with the help of architect George Sanderson, he designed and built his studio on a portion of his parents' Lenox estate. It was the first modern art structure to be built in New England. 12 years later, now married to Susie Frelinghuysen, he hired yet another architect, John Butler Swan, to design a house which would be integrated into the existing studio. This house contains much of the modernism artwork that was popular in the 40s. Both Morris and Frelinghuysen created ancient frescoes in the house. Morris painted his in the living room, while Frelinghuysen chose the dining room as her space. Morris passed away in 1975, and Frelinghuysen lived in the house until her death in 1988. Today, the house is a great representation of both of the artists' works and imagination throughout their lifetime. Visitors can walk through the house with all of its original furnishings. They can not only view Morris and Frelinghuysen's most famous works, but also art that the two bought, including some rare Pablo Picasso pieces. As director and daughter of Susie Frelinghuysen, Kinney Frelinghuysen notes, quote, "The integration of living quarters with the immediacy of a concentration of works of art is a pleasurable and unexpected way to propel visitors into early 20th century art." The second history stop also provides the answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, this week's question was, how long is the Appalachian Trail, part of which runs through Berkshire County? The answer is 2,190 miles. The Appalachian Trail is the largest hiking-only trail in the world, going into 14 states. It stretches from the Blue Mountain Ridges in Athens, Georgia, all the way to Mount Katahdin in Piscataquis, Maine. 90 miles of the trail go through Berkshire County. It runs by Mount Everett in Sheffield, through the Taconic Mountains, Great Barrington, Mount Greylock, the Hoosic River, and North Adams and Williamstown. Shelters, campsites, and outhouses are closed in 2020 due to COVID-19, but hiking remains open. The idea for the Appalachian Trail started in 1921. That year, regional planner Benton McKay proposed a trail that would run from Georgia to New England. However, his plan was deeper than that. He wanted a utopian place with small, self-owning community camps set up near the trail. McKay struggled to get clearance for the plan, as the southern communities were hesitant to get on board. McKay's efforts eventually attracted Washington, D.C. lawyer Myron Avery to his plan, but the two frequently clashed. Eventually, McKay diverted his attention to other projects. Under Avery's efforts, the Appalachian Trail was connected from Georgia to Maine, finally finishing on August 14, 1937. The next decade proved to be very challenging for the Appalachian Trail. A hurricane in 1938 heavily damaged part of the northern trail. Then, World War II forced many of the people working on the trail to focus on war efforts, which severely stunted its growth. In 1948, World War II veteran Earl Schaefer brought much-needed attention to the trail when he became the first person to hike the entire Appalachian Trail. He has since written several books on his experience with hiking the trail, which has inspired other people to walk the trail and write their own books. In his travels, Schaefer noted how much of the trail was in complete disarray. Efforts to keep the trail clean were able to be refocused after the war, and the trail has never looked back. Throughout the 50s and 60s, the trail became much more refined. The effort to clean up the Appalachian Trail paid off in 1968, when President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the National Trails System Act into law. The Appalachian Trail was the first national scenic trail in America. Each year, 3 million people walk at least some portion of the Appalachian Trail, and approximately 20,000 people have completed the full walk from Georgia to Maine since it was established. Maintenance of the trail is done by volunteers. Their job duties include keeping the footpaths clear of natural overgrowth and blowdowns, building and relocating sections, building and repairing shelters when they are open, caring for overnight sites, educating and supporting trail users, teaching camping techniques that minimize damage to the natural environment, and providing food, shelter, and safety equipment for inexperienced hikers. For much of the COVID-19 crisis, volunteers were unable to get to the trails to maintain them. However, on June 26th, the Appalachian Trail Conservation Committee gave them the approval to return to work. Workers must stay 6 feet apart and wear masks, and many of the shelters and campgrounds are closed, as discussed earlier. If you are curious about becoming a member or a volunteer, visit the website shown here for more information. The Appalachian Mountain Club, or AMC, Berkshire chapter, is the one that manages and maintains the 90 miles within Massachusetts. Visit amcberkshire.org for more information. That ends this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. You can watch this week's episode on channel 1301 of PCTV, CTSB TV, and NBC-TC. Air times on all 3 of these networks vary. Visit the websites shown here for more information. Thank you.